Hey gang, today we are taking a look at Transformers Prime Deluxe Class Robots in Disguise Autobot Ratchet. Now this is a hard to find figure right now as it is short packed. I picked this up at Target along with RC and I watched the Target employee open the box. There was only one of this guy in that box. There were 3 Bumblebees. Let's see, in a box of 12 there were 3 Bumblebees, 2 Wheeljacks, 2 Cliff Jumpers, and then a Soundwave, a Ratchet, and an RC. I think that's 12. No, that's 11. And I think there was another Bumblebee in there. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get Ratchet out of his packaging and take a look at him. And here we have Ratchet in vehicle mode. Now, the ambulance mode is a little odd, I'm not going to lie. Well, one, it's got these fog lamp blades that just stick out. I mean, that's going to be a hazard. But this weird curved chunk out of the back. Now, that has to do with the transformation. It is kind of vital for the transformation. But it just makes the whole vehicle mode look odd. And this figure really suffers from universe Ironhide syndrome. And what I mean by that is there are lines going everywhere. Lines and seams all over the damn figure. It really detracts from the vehicle mode. Now, I'm sure I could fix that using just a Gundam marker and some patience, but overall, the vehicle mode is kind of boring, I have to admit. It's not that great. Another thing that I don't particularly care for, super floppity weapons. I hate this. I really wish they would stop with these super floppy weapons. It's so annoying. They're practically useless, and you really can't play with them because they're so floppy. Don't read too much into what I just said. Now, another thing is, I have not been able to figure out where I can store these things yet in vehicle mode. I'm sure there's a place, but I haven't found it yet. Transformation for Ratchet is actually pretty interesting. It's a combination of a shell former and just folding it out into robot mode. So start off by coming back into the back of the vehicle and opening up these panels. That will then allow us to kind of wiggle the back rear wheel out and fold it up like that. And that will be critical, and you'll see why in a little bit. Then, once we do that, you're inevitably going to break the front. So what you can do then is pop the front, or the cab parts off and push them forward. And come under behind the front wheels and fold out these bits. When you do that, then you can grab the front wheel, split the front open, and then fold it down like that. And that'll form the feet. Alright, so next what we're going to do is these pieces. Now the directions say they're supposed to be able to fold all the way down and flush against the legs. Not so, because it just didn't work. And there seem to be pegs here, like these pieces are supposed to peg into the back of the legs. Like this peg right here, it does nothing. There's nowhere to peg it in. So, we'll move on to the top of the figure. Take the arms here, and what you could do now is fold out the wrists, or fold out the hands, like that. And then take these panels and fold them over and snap them into place, like that. And then the back part fold out, like that, giving you shoulders and shoulder pads. And here's where the Automorph comes in. Like that. And that folds nicely up against his back. Ratchet has some decent posability for a figure that feels so blocky. The head, however, cannot move at all. But I really like the face sculpt. I really like that face sculpt. I think it's perfect. Now, as I said, posability. Feet, it's got in and out movement up at in like the thigh and shin and this weird collapsing foot. But otherwise, the feet really don't bend. There is limited posability in the knee thanks to this big chunk of plastic. Upper leg, there is a swivel and then a ball joint at the hip. No torso movement. Arms, you've got some in and out movement thanks to the transformation. You've got a ball joint up at the shoulder, swivel joint just below that, and this weird double elbow because of the transformation. So you've got an elbow, you've got an elbow at the upper arm, and then an elbow at the elbow. And then the wrists can move up and down. So what you could do, which I find really cool, is you can have him have his weapons, and then what you could do is just bend the wrists down and put the weapons such that they kind of cover up the hands, and you could pull off the Ginsu Master that he has in the show. I really like that. I really like that. And one thing I did notice is the legs are really problematic. Really problematic. I don't like the legs at all. You can kind of store his weapons on his back. They can fit like that, or since they're so floppy, you could just get them in there however you want, but there's really no official way to store them back there, which is unfortunate. I would have really liked to see these things stored somehow. You can just kind of store them so they're just sticking up like that. It kind of works, but it's not great looking. It does look kind of silly, though. Overall, Ratchet's not a bad figure at all. It's not a perfect figure by any means. I mean, you've got a chunky backpack, and then you've got this giant, like, car skirt hanging off the back of his legs. But he's not a bad figure either. I am getting a little bit worried that a lot of these newer figures seem to have an automorph gimmick for no reason whatsoever, but oh well, there's not much I can do about that. Posability and overall show likeness is good. I have to say the robot mode is really where this figure shines. It does have some problems, like, again, the kibble, the fact that his swords are just floppy gray messes, and he just feels like he's lacking some paint apps. I'm not sure where. I'm going to have to go back and look at the figure on the show and just see if I can point him out, but overall, it's not a bad figure at all. It's not perfect by any means, but if you've got to have every figure that shows up on the show, well, this really is your only option for a Ratchet figure right now. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5. It's not perfect. It's got a lot of flaws, but it's still a decent figure.